So apparently, EA has decided to pull the plug on the Black Panther game that has been in development since 2021. It's a move that has surprised a lot of people. It's something that everybody's talking about right now in relation to, I guess, the gaming world. And I'm not exactly sure as to why this happened. I don't think EA gave an official reason as to why they decided to make this decision. But if you put two and two together, it's because, at least in my opinion, I feel like it's because they lost a hell of a lot of money within the past couple of years. In fact, it was reported back in January that EA had lost like 6 billion in market value because you had games like FC 25, Dragon Age Veilguard, you had Anthem from 2019, and even Mass Effect Andromeda, games that people just didn't give a damn about, or they just performed poorly altogether. And I think it was one of those things where they just didn't want to take a chance with this game, despite the amount of success um, the Black Panther franchise had in theaters. I believe the very first Black Panther movie came out back in 2018, and that film did like 1.3 billion in box office revenue. And I don't think the second film from 2022 did as good in terms of box office revenue, but it was still a pretty good movie. I'm talking about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and and it's crazy because I believe screenshots of the Black Panther game emerged like before the film had came out. So it would have been perfect if the game was released in 2022 or in 2023, preferably like, 2022, because that year was pretty lackluster in relation to gaming. So it definitely could have stood out that year. Or if we got the Black Panther game in 2024, it definitely could have stood out that year as well, because that year was also pretty lackluster also. I feel like a Black Panther game in 2025 wouldn't stand out as much because of some of the high profile video games that we have like releasing like this year in general. But I feel like yeah, I feel like this whole thing is kind of just strange and it's just out of the blue. And it's not necessarily surprising to some people because I believe like EA, this is like their third wave of like, job cuts that they're making. The last wave they made was not too long ago. I think it was about a month or two ago, where they cut like 300 like jobs, and it's something that caught a lot of people by surprise, because I don't know, a lot of people were under the impression that EA was like everything was going well with them, and that everything was on the up and up, until we learned about how much money they had lost. And honestly, I myself was shocked by the fact that they lost like 6 billion in terms of market value and all that. But at the same time, it seems like this is a trend that's going on within the gaming world when it comes down to video game companies slashing jobs left and right, trying to be more cost efficient. Their games not selling as much as they should, and I think I've said in previous videos that this is a trend that's going to continue happening. But the strange thing about them canceling the Black Panther game is that I had read on like pushsquare.com that EA is still planning on making three games with Marvel. And if that is the case, it makes you wonder what was the real reason as to why they pulled the plug on this particular project. And aside for like, the fact that they probably didn't want to take any chances with the Black Panther game possibly being a flop, it's quite possible that they believe that, a Black Panther game wouldn't sell as much as a Spider-Man game, or as much as a Batman game would have from the past. Um, like Spider-Man, for the most part, I feel like Spider-Man is like the most popular Marvel character, like, that we have right now, and the Spider-Man games are still selling pretty well. Spider-Man 2 game is like one of the more popular action adventures games that we've gotten within the past couple of years. And I think it's one of the best selling games for the PlayStation 5, if I'm not mistaken. But it seems like, it seems like, cliffhanger, games being like shut down is something that it makes you wonder, were there issues in development where I guess like the game wasn't finished like by a specific time, because it's not like we had gotten any news of it being delayed or anything like that, at least not to my knowledge. So it makes me wonder, was it a deadline thing? Was it something that fell below EA's desired expectations in terms of like production? Was it EA being afraid of just gambling with that game in general? And it just makes you wonder, maybe the Marvel games are going to focus on deals with more, popular superheroes from the Marvel franchise. I really don't know. I feel like when it comes down to Marvel games, Sony does the best in terms of production, in terms of gameplay and graphics, and the whole nine yards. But yeah, EA for the most part is not the same company that it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's something that's becoming more and more apparent. And hopefully we'll get more information as to why Black Panther, the video game, got canceled, and as to why EA decided to shut down Cliffhanger Games, because it's something that has puzzled a lot of people. And I honestly feel like there was a lot of money left on the table with this game, and I feel like it definitely could have stood out. It could have been one of the best selling video games of whatever year it was released in, if it came out like like in 2022. I feel like if it came out sooner, it probably would have been a bigger deal. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like this game should have been finished, and we should have gotten it, back in 2022 or what have you. But apparently that did not happen, and I feel like it's at a point where people probably don't care about, Black Panther as much as they did a couple of years ago. And I honestly feel like that's just a shame, because like I said, this is something that could have been like one of the next big, video game, Marvel related franchises that we could have gotten if the game was finished sooner. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like Black Panther is not the only game that this has happened with. I believe Warner Brothers had canceled the Wonder Woman game, which ironically had been in development since 2021 as well. But at least with the Black Panther video game, we got to see like multiple screenshots of it. I don't remember whether or not we actually got a trailer, but I know like with the Wonder Woman game, there was a trailer, and there was like one or two screenshots. So that tells me the Wonder Woman game wasn't really that far in development before it got scrapped. With the Black Panther game, it seems like the game was at least halfway finished before it got scrapped. So I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is just baffling to me, but we'll just have to sit back and wait and see what comes out. And, hopefully we'll learn more as to why this game ultimately got shut down by EA.